This is where you say, Liz, there's something to be said for for
There's
preparation.
something to be said for preparation.
But we'll have none of that today.
Yeah, we're definitely winging it a little bit.
Every day is another day of winging it.
So how many years of winging it does DOOR3 have under its collective belt?
We're coming up on 20, right, Alex?
Coming up on 19.
Oh.
Is that right? If we started in 2002, yeah, so 19.
Wow. Okay.
What I mean is next year we'll be at 20.
Oh yeah.
2 decades.
Yep, we are coming up on 20.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
correct.
It's exciting. It's exciting. Soon we'll be able to buy alcohol.
I'm very excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So here we are, another episode of DOOR3 TV Open Hours. I'm Liz Flintz. I'm the Director of UX and Design at DOOR3. I'm here with Jonathan Blessing, CEO of DOOR3, and Alex Asanoff, founder, which will become important this episode, and president of DOOR3.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the history of DOOR3. We're going into the Wayback Machine, literally. And
should we also discuss the prehistory at any point? Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe.
I mean, I've been told that it involves Craigslist misconnections, which is exciting.
There's some truth to that. Yeah.
Let's start there, actually. So for all the kids out there, you may have heard of Craigslist. It's a website. It's like one of the oldest websites that's still websiting out there. And today it's 100% scams. But in the distant past, it used to be a place where professional people would go and put ads and respond to ads. And people with, careers and advanced degrees would post ads on Craigslist and then meet up with people in real life to do business.
You're introducing our audience. Again, in our audiences, it's Bob's wife and Wasim. You're introducing our audience to Craigslist. But yeah, that's Alex and I met on Craigslist. But I think before we get to that, because that is a juicy part of the story, of course, right? How we came together, we had a very sweet time together, and then we went our separate ways, did our own things, learned and grew as people, and then reunited.
Yeah, I heard, Jonathan, you bought a motorcycle, drove across the country without a helmet, like all of that.
All of that.
Yeah.
There was a whole montage.
No, I spent 6 months spelunking. I mean, there was my time on the Merchant Marines. I mean, there are stories, just as there are with you, right? But before that, Alex, in 2002, as we just established, because we're coming up on the 20th, he founded this great company.
Yeah, it was an interesting time. It was right after 9/11, or shortly after. It was a time of a lot of business chaos and uncertainty. And I said, what a great time to start a new business, right? But really, I was just still in a little bit of shock from the tech collapse of 2000. I wanted to build something that was very customer oriented, very kind of strong hybrid user experience design and technology. Not, because where I come from, UX was strong, but it was kind of it came in second. And I wanted to see what would happen if you really started a company with those two disciplines at the same time, and valued them equally in delivering usable and working robust software.
Liz is so happy that we're recording this, because she's going to play that back to you at some point, I feel.
Yeah. Well, I think that vision is still a guiding principle. We want to build usable software. We care about users. We care about, when we think about business purpose, what is that? It's usually about serving people. I mean, yes, there are times when you build like a piece of plumbing and it's important, but most of the time there are endpoints that touch humans, and so it matters. Do
you remember DOOR3's first client? First project?
Yeah, yes, I do. So I was consulting as a consulting CIO for a startup at the time called Ingenitech, and actually, maybe I'll share my screen because I went to the Wayback Machine to kind of find this place. Where is the share screen button?
It's at the
Oh,
bottom.
there it is. I thought it moved.
I wish we had some sound effect for the Wayback Machine.
Ooh.
It was like wee wee wee.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can see it. So this was our first client, right? Ingenitech became not only the first client, not only my client as a consulting CIO, but they didn't have a website, and they were going to investors and they were going to potential clients and trying to be credible. And I said, guys, it's a modern age. It's 2002. You can't possibly be credible without a digital presence, especially delivering digital services. And so we designed and built this site, which I actually still think is a very attractive site. Like literally almost 20 years later, it's still an attractive site. And it still was a site that was on mission. We needed to articulate, we wanted to appeal to the geeks who love the science behind the compression and encryption technology. We wanted to appeal to the business stakeholders. We wanted to engage for different industries. And this site sort of played with those dimensions in a really creative and interesting way that I still think is a good design to this day. So that was our first client. Sadly, their technology, the heart of the encryption and compression technology, did not sort of pan out as a promise, right? Academically, so it couldn't really be fully commercialized in the end. But this was our first client. While we were there, I got a call from a CIO that I worked for on Wall Street, and he was working for a real estate firm, and he said, "Hey, we've got this strange situation here. We have an IT department that seems to own the business instead of the other way around. Can you take a look at that and see if you can straighten the ship?" So that was our first, not design and technology, but consulting project, where we came in and we looked at the situation and its business impact and helped reshape it.
Let me help with the storytelling here a little bit, because I think something that might be striking to people is the name, A&N Design Studio. So maybe you could talk about the design studio.
Yeah. So when I was terrible at naming things, right? So but the heart of the message is actually still accurate. It's just not a good use of words for branding in the current market or then. But when you do technology work, you are designing. When you are thinking about user experience and you're designing. When you're creating a business process, you're designing, right? So I wanted to encompass all of that under the rubric of design, but unfortunately, it has too much of a strong gravity pull toward one of those dimensions, so we couldn't stay with that. That's why we rebranded a few years later.
How long? When did you rebrand to DOOR3?
I want to say 2006 or 2007, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So where I was going before was that our first two projects really embody the two dimensions of DOOR3 services, which is technology strategy and software, like creative and technically robust software development. Like I think those two things, like I actually haven't thought of factoring it quite this way, but this was there from the very beginning. Literally, the first two projects were those two dimensions.
That really is striking, actually.
And
we still have that kind of dichotomy in our portfolio to this day.
Yeah. And what the most I would say enriching and rewarding personally professional experiences that I've had have been projects where we've had the privilege and the trust from our clients to do both, right? Because there is a natural sort of like little conflict of interest kind of thing. If you're advising, should you be doing the development that you're advising them to do, and so forth. But a lot of that comes down to the human element of of business relationships, right? If we're advising someone to do something, and it's truly in the best interest of the client, and we get the trust to build something in the interest of the client, right? And we do that in good faith, then the trust is rewarded for both parties, and you wind up with a richer, more intelligent relationship that yields more, right?
When you founded the company, Alex, were the first offices on Broad Street?
The first office was in my house, which is where it remained for about a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
So we met there quite a bit, and exposed brick wall was very inspiring. It was all very good, but it did get cramped. Like we got to, we went to 2 people, 3 people, 5, 7, 8 people in the first year. And so that was too much. So we went to 80 Broad Street, opened up a little office with no windows, right? And because we didn't know what billing rates we should have yet, so we couldn't bill and afford real estate at the same time, right? So it was a little windowless room, but it was good enough. We had our servers, we had our strategy, we had our development, we had our design. All of that was in that like 350, 400 square feet.
So you were in that room, that windowless room on Broad Street when we met?
Yes.
You were still there. Yeah.
I can't believe you actually even talked to me after you saw the place.
Well, if you recall, and now I know we're jumping ahead to 2005, 2006.
Uh-huh.
I think 2006. So early 2006. So you were still there in 2006 when we started working together. I did not make it to the office, I think, for the first maybe 6 months of our working together.
Because we were collaborating in South Bend, Indiana.
That's right.
What were you doing in South Bend, Indiana?
Exploring fish and chips in a landlocked location, which, by the way, is the best fish and chips in the world, is in South Bend, Indiana. I kid you not. There is a fantastic Irish pub there that actually they really think of themselves as a Celtic joint, right?
Yeah. Alex, you're speaking to somebody who would eat there four times a week.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that was actually another project that started as a pure play strategic engagement project and became a strategically aligned implementation project, right? And that was, I believe, our 3rd engagement. So that's where we took the ideas from the first 2 and put them together into one structure, right? And delivered a lot of value. So we helped an organization, figure out how IT and technology and their IT and their business could work better together. How IT could transform from being kind of the no people to yes and people, like all of that. Like,
no, I mean, in a nutshell, what we helped do with that client, and that was a lovely engagement.
Yeah.
And it ended very successfully. What we helped do with them was to really put technology, to kind of move it from the periphery of the business, moving it to the center of the business, and make it an engine for growth.
Yep.
Can we jump ahead to early? I like this.
The Pac-Mans. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that was our first website.
Wow. I love it.
Did you get a cease and desist letter from Activision or Atari?
No, we didn't, because you know why? Because of this eyebrow.
Yeah, the eyebrow really. Just, if you hadn't mentioned the Pac-Man thing, I never would have seen it, Jonathan.
Yeah. But like, what is the message here? The message is that the individual user's experience matters, right? That's really what and maybe it didn't say it in the most eloquent fashion.
Oh, because if you didn't have the magnifying glass, you wouldn't be able to see the eyebrow. That's what lets you see the
That's what lets you see the
individuality in a sea of Pac-Mans, or generic non-copyrighted
people.
Pac things.
Yeah.
The magnifying glass of A&N Design Studio is what lets you see the individuality that needs to be catered.
See, that's fantastic. Exactly.
The explicit business value, the R-rated business value.
I love it. Can we see the early what can we see the moment at which DOOR3 comes into being in the Wayback Machine?
This is it. This is it.
Yeah,
this
literally is it.
But DOOR3, the transition to DOOR3.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting.
You'd have to pull up the DOOR3. Why don't you stop sharing while you do this, Alex? Just in case.
Okay, all right.
I mean, it is live TV, you know, to potentially one person.
Hold on. I'm not sharing anymore, right?
You are still sharing.
I'm still sharing. All right, now I'm not sharing.
Now you're not.
All right, so the Wayback Machine. Let's see.
So how many people worked at this first version of this, the Proto DOOR3?
The Proto DOOR3, like I said, we went from 2 people to 3 people in 3 months, and then in the first year we got to like 8 or so, I
think in 2006 or 2005 when we started working together, there were maybe 7 people, 8 people. 7, I think.
And what was the atmosphere? Was it the, I don't know. This is sort of that period is sort of when I think of the 2005 to 2008-9 era, it's marked by the rise of the now dominant social media companies. I would say that's like what really changed in the landscape. So Facebook, YouTube.
Well, I think actually that's an interesting question, and I'm going to answer it for Alex. It really shows up in the revised name for the business. The full name of DOOR3 is DOOR3 Business Applications. And really what was in the air back then, there was not a ton of consumer work. What there was there was a lot of energy behind business application development. Large organizations, I think many of them were early to appreciate the value that could be provided through digital systems. So even though the consumer space was still pretty shaky and was mostly defined by companies like BlackBerry, you'll remember them. The business world, and it was powered by Microsoft, right? Microsoft was the stuff out of which business applications were made. I mean, there were other tools like Power Builder, but Microsoft represented probably 75% of the ingredients to all business application solutions at the time. Your database might back then, it might have been Sybase or Oracle, but the application layer was almost always Microsoft.
Very true.
Yeah. So that was the energy. I mean, it was kind of a nerdy business person vibe.
And I mean, not like now where we're totally 24-hour party people.
Yeah, we're really cool. I get a lot of party invitations.
The party people vibe that was more in the late aughts. Yeah. When, especially in New York, a lot of VC money started being vectored towards the consumer space. And
at that time, everything was still on localized servers. This is like which is still the case.
DOOR3, back when it was A&N Design Studio and it was a windowless office on Broad Street, had beige boxes that were plugged into the wall.
How many beige boxes?
I don't know.
6 or so.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, it was a time. It was an interesting time. It's not just that we couldn't afford good real estate. We also didn't know in the early days how to hire really great talent, right? And how to afford really great talent, right? So a lot of this was senior leadership just trying to make up for the operational and delivery challenges of weaker staff underneath. So a lot of the thinking around process and the value of just really great talent, really great people was cemented around that time, because without process, you can't make junior people work effectively. Without great senior people, process is a part of the solution. It is not the whole solution. You still need talent, right? And by talent, I mean good situational awareness, good technical skills, people skills, all the things that consultants need to have in order to effectively deliver for our clients. So, it took us a while to learn to afford and sell top-level talent.
Just so we don't overlook this, and I know this isn't a natural segue, but I want you to, Alex, I want to kind of get back, I want to walk back in time, and I want to get inside of your brain when you were renaming the business to DOOR3. I mean, people ask about it all the time.
Yeah,
I was asked twice yesterday by different folks, what's in the name? Why the name?
Yeah. So at the time, the secondary or the less important kind of influence was the fact that that we had 3 partners. I was the majority partner, but we had 2 minority partners that were part of the organization. So 3 was just a number that kind of fit. But that was not really the important influence. What was important was that we were bringing 3 core disciplines to the table, which is business thinking, design thinking, and technology thinking, right? And putting that in the service of digital advancement, technology advancement for our clients, and the improvement of their business. So those 3 disciplines were the 3 pillars, continue to remain the 3 pillars of value development at DOOR3, right? So the other, and there's this other sort of comical influence, which is what's behind door number 3, and the idea is when companies undertake change, change means something today becoming something tomorrow, and tomorrow's not here yet, so you don't know what's really going to happen. There's a journey and potentially a surprise on the other end of that. Managing through change and managing from today into tomorrow when you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring is something that it's good to do with partners. It's good to do with partners who can bring some experience to the table. It's good to do with partners that you like to work with, because it's just easier to handle these things together. And we really want to be, and have always wanted to be, that partner for a client.
I'm sorry to report that I seem to be having some sort of disturbance in the force.
Really?
And, no, someone's banging on the door.
Oh. You should maybe let them out. Did you put? I mean, you put them. Did you just hope that they would stay inside of the box and not want to get out?
See, this is what I see as you have to normally, like the obvious assumption was that someone's banging on Liz's door to get in, right? Like you have to look past the obvious.
I know Liz well enough to know that she put somebody in a box.
You never know when someone is like that. You have to. You can't just assume that they're nice and they ordered pizza.
So I gotta go. I have to.
Yeah, go let them in.
I'm sorry.
Alex.
Alex, maybe you could show people the OG DOOR3 site. But I don't want to miss it.
He did.
I'll be right back.
Oh, the DOOR3. Yeah. Did you find it?
I'm still struggling finding the exact time when the URL started saying, oh no, here it is. I did find it.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah, here it is. But I think
isn't I like that we get to do this live. Because this has happened to me before. I remember I was up in a undisclosed location, and I received a visitor during the recording of one of these.
So this says DOOR3, but the site still says ANN, which is, I'm going to go find the time when that changes.
Okay. It's confusing.
Well, yeah, but change is hard.
And it's not optional.
It isn't optional because,
I mean, thermodynamics and all that, right? I mean,
I literally was going to go to thermodynamics. This is why we work together.
This is why we need Liz here
to stop us from doing this.
To stop us from discussing entropy.
This is crazy. When did we become DOOR3 officially? So anyway,
I want to say you told me about the name change because you'll recall that I had the number 3 in the name of my first business. And we both did this at the same time, independently.
So this is the November 5th, 2011, right? And this now says DOOR3. Right?
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that that the name change goes back at least a couple of years before that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the Wayback Machine blinked for a year. A little sand in the eye, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Liz and I were discussing just how much we like the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, it's wonderful. You know, so what else do you want to talk about? You know, there's you know, I don't know.
Oh, who's at the door, Liz?
What did I miss? It's cleaning people. I forgot about them.
Ah, gosh, yeah, you got to let them in.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, so this is the
clean.
oldest DOOR3 website Alex could find.
Yep. And of course, it immediately highlights our work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by then we had a bunch of clients. We had Bound. We had Crown Cork. We had Fresh Direct already. This is already a relatively mature company with a portfolio. So yeah, by the time we rebranded, we had things to talk about.
I feel like this was a real kind of fad in case study display, was to not just have the screen and not just have the browser, but like to have the actual computer. If you scroll up, to have like a picture of the whole computer with like a little drop shadow under it.
It was definitely a thing. We talked about this. This was not an accident. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could see hey, this is a website. It goes on a computer.
So right. Well, I think in the early days we weren't yet. You needed to show the website in like literal concrete context. Mm-hmm. If you were going to put it on a website. it was it takes a leap of the imagination to understand what you're looking at unless you put a computer around it.
Otherwise people would be like, what is this, a newspaper? Like a
stone tablet. It's a stone tablet. So
CD? A DVD?
I mean, we were talking about Craigslist. Now we're way off topic. But in my mind, when I first moved to New York, Craigslist was advanced technology. I used the Village Voice to find apartments.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Look at that. The carousel works.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, wow.
I'm shocked. Yeah, so we built Green Depot before green was hot.
And you
look at those icons. Green. Those are nice icons.
Yeah, not bad. Cool artistic flair. Yeah. So anyway, where were we?
We're always right here.
We're warping through space-time.
Yeah. No, I think we're good. I think this has been kind of a fun, zany discussion about DOOR3. And I think what I'm most
here we go again.
By,
here's a picture. It's like, look, it's not just a mobile application. Here it is on an iPhone. Like you can identify.
Well, you gotta realize this is a year after smartphones became a thing, right? So like to have this on a phone, like this and a phone, and then you put them together and you have this on a phone, right? Like that was just like a whole new thing, right? So yeah, people needed to see it.
Can you remember the first time you looked at a website on a phone?
It was it was a horrible experience because it was great and awful at the same time because it was on a BlackBerry. right? And
I was going to say it was all the early mobile web experience was WAP.
Yeah.
Which no one remembers, and it was
not the song.
It was
not
not
the
good.
hit song from last summer.
I wanted to say one thing before we conclude, which is, which this walk down memory lane is impressive to me, if only because of how largely unchanged, like the basic commitments of the company are, the basic tenets of how we operate are. And I don't know. I think, Alex, that you should find. I don't know. I think you should be proud of yourself for kind of getting the recipe right so long ago.
This one, the eyebrow.
Yes, that's what I meant. Thank you. That's exactly what I meant.
I agree. I think this is. I think that I like this, but I also think that you really see how the company has evolved. But I think the instinct to combine the sort of core pillars, it remains a strong instinct that has served us well.
Yeah, and I do want to say this, right? This has not been without its challenges. It would have been really easy in 2002, or honestly even today, to simply fold up two of those tents and put them in the garage and say, we code, that's what we do. Or we design, here are wireframes, here are design compositions, that's what we do, right? Because the idea of the convergence of these disciplines with strategy in the service of business, it's still evolving. Like, the market has moved toward us dramatically. I want to say in 2009 through 2013, there was a big move toward the concept of digital. Chief digital officer sprung up as a thing, right? Mm-hmm. I remember going to a couple of conferences, running some panels for what is the chief digital officer. Those spent some nice time at Half Moon Bay in California doing that, right? But that trend did not sort of complete its cycle. There isn't this there are still a lot of people who are like, it's an application, we're just going to make people use it, right? Like, I just want really, really beautiful design. Well, I'm sure we'll figure out how to make it work, right? And the sense that you really need to have strength in all of those areas and put it all to a purpose that is defined and clear, and keep that clarity going as you're mucking around trying to create actual software, which is always an in the weeds process. That is not yet mature in the marketplace. I think we're now at the asymptotic end of that journey, going slowly toward that understanding. Certainly, there are people who totally get it, and there are still a fair amount of journey to go.
I like it. I think we're about at time, and I'm really glad we had this historical interlude. Thanks, Alex. Thanks for taking us on this journey deep into space-time.
I feel like we should have had, like, this is like a period piece. There should be like fine china and a place settings somewhere around here. It's
should we dress
lace.
Like it's 2002?
Well, I feel like Alex and I are dressed like it's 2002. I mean, I haven't varied my sartorial selection in probably 20 years. And I think the same is true for Alex.
I've done laundry since then.
Yeah, yeah.
That is not true of me, but yeah.
Yeah.
We can do our own
for another show. Yeah. We can discuss our yes.
So this has been DOOR3 TV Open Hours episode 8, I believe.
This is the canonical 8th episode.
Yeah.
It's the only 8th episode there'll ever be.
Well, there's still some talk about whether or not the first couple episodes are canonical. I leave this to Liz.
I think they're at least historical.
I embrace the ambiguity of episode numbering. I know we disagree about this, but here we are, DOOR3. If you want to get a hold of us, we make stuff using these 3 core pillars of technology, business expertise, and design. And you can reach us at projects@door3.com.
Closing in on 20 years.
And can I just add a personal note? I think this episode was a little bit self-indulgent, and it gave me it at least it felt really nice to be able to walk down memory lane. So for those of you for whom this was like, why are they talking about this eyebrow thing? Thank you for taking the time to listen anyway. But for those of you who are curious about DOOR3's history and philosophy, this hopefully was an interesting few minutes spent. So thank you again for your